Hello guys and welcome back to our channel. Now pardon my voice, I have a terrible flu and a cough. But in today's video, I welcome you to a critical conversation that will leave you questioning the very fabric of American history. Now, reports are emerging that the National Archives and Records Administration has been compromised, with senior employees and inspectors general mysteriously gone. As one concerned citizen pointed out, the National Archives isn't just a repository of government records. It's the custodian of America's collective memory. It holds the records of every soldier who's ever served, naturalization, and immigration documents that trace the histories of millions of American families, and even the painful records of slavery, Native American treaties, and Japanese internment camps. But now it seems that this treasure trove of American history has been taken over and the people in charge have been removed. Now, another speaker astutely asks, how can our history be gone when they've been telling us lies in the first place? Could it be that the truth is finally being revealed? So with that said, let's take a look at these videos as different people share more information on this. And when I get back, we will talk more about this. So I'll be right back.
The National Archives and Records Administration has fallen. Senior employees and the inspectors general for the National Archives are gone. If you do not know the scope of what this impacts, I'm sorry to have to tell you. National Archives is the nation's memory. It doesn't just hold government records. It holds the entire fabric of American life and history. Our heritage, military records of every soldier that ever served, naturalization and immigration records that trace millions of Americans' family histories, slave ship manifests, Freedom Bureau records, and the names of formerly enslaved people and the people who enslaved them. All Native American treaties and agreements, Japanese internment camp records, court cases that shaped civil rights, voting rights, and LGBTQ+ rights. Thousands and thousands and thousands of oral histories, hundreds of millions of photographs and films that document real American life, struggles, triumphs, joy, and suffering.
I don't know if y'all have heard, but they've taken over the American Archives. First the Kennedy Center, now the American Archives. Taking it over. Removed all the people in charge. They're gone. As one creator put it, the American Archives have fallen. That's all of our history. All of it. All of the native treaties. All of the history of America. All of the stories, all of the stuff. Just at the hands of these monsters. So for my community, you families better start talking. Y'all gotta start telling the stories. You gotta stop keeping the secrets. The storytellers, the griots. Start telling these stories. Start talking about who your people are, where y'all came from, the possibilities of outside children, the states, the places. Start sharing the names in the Bible. Start sharing the artifacts, pooling them and keeping them safe, because we don't know what they are going to do with those records and with those documents. All of this is happening, and I have to say this out loud, and I don't care what happens. All of this is happening, and some of y'all worried about Palestine. What sense does that make? We have no idea what's going to happen to our statuses, to our history. You don't know what they're going to use against us, use to take away our citizenship or strip us down to bare bones. And you're worried about a country that wouldn't come on you if you were on fire. We're watching our house burn to the ground, and you're worried about putting the water on someone else's. Make it make sense. And not near one you mention Kamala Harris. I don't want to hear, where is she? She's minding the business y'all told her to go mind when you voted the other way or you didn't vote at all. But this is where we are. Everything that has a paper trail of who we are and what we are has just been invaded by the enemy.
How is our history gone when they've been telling you the lies in the first place? Like slave ships and auction blocks. Maybe they're taking over the archives so we can know the truth about who the ancient Berbers were, who the Indians really were, who the mulattoes really were, who the Mezestos really are, who everybody, what you think that they going to get rid of the National Archive? Or are they going to go in and get those court documents that we need to see as Black people? That's what we need to see, not no slave ship manifesto, but the court papers. That's what we need. What was going on in court? Who were the judges, the lawyers, the plaintiffs, the defendants in court that determined who was going to be put into captivity and who wasn't? That's what Black folks need to see and get out of this whole slave ship mentality that was an indoctrination through the HBCUs during the Reconstruction. And I stand 10 toes down on that. Y'all talking about the net. It's falling. Meaning, now everybody gets hold of the archives. Now that American people get to see the archives now. Not just the people that feel like they elite. So you really think they went in the archives so they could destroy? What are they going to destroy when Barack Obama made the word illegal to use in federal court? And that is what our history is tied to, the court. And the word Barack Obama made illegal to use in federal court so that we could not get access to those documents that we needed so we can stop living in an alternate reality of African slave ships.
My father is 83 years old. My auntie, his sister, is almost the same age. We still have people here who lived through the things we're learning about and teaching about. Get with them. Get their stories. Keep them. My mother's white. She was born in 1956. She went to a school that was all white until she came to Lexington, Kentucky. Went to Tates Creek High School as a senior for a second half of her senior year. Both sides, it doesn't matter what race you are, get their stories. Doesn't matter if they would get the story, because the story is going to tell the things we went through. It's going to tell the things they did to us and our folks and our ancestors. Learn everything you can right now, because from today on, we will be the ones who pass it down. They will dismantle, they will destroy everything that will tell the stories of the people who fought for their lives for us to even exist. It's our job now. The data banks will be gone. The stories, the books, they're gonna burn them. But you know what they can't take away? Get it inside you so you can tell it to your kids, so they can tell it to their kids. And do it now. Learn everything you can from now. Talk to those people. Write it down. Keep it in your brain. Or else it's going to be our grandparents and our parents, because we didn't take the time to know. It's our job. Our history started out being passed by word of mouth through people who were illiterate and couldn't write it down. It's our turn. And don't think just because your daddy, your mama, your granddaddy, the elders in your family don't talk about it, that they don't know about it. My 83-year-old father was the son of a sharecropper, was pulled out of school in the 2nd grade. Taught him how to read and write his own name when I was 10 years old. The best present I ever had from him was for my 40th birthday. He wrote me a message on the card. An actual one. Wrote it out. I got it in a picture frame. Best thing I've ever received in my life. The stories he knows. The stories he's told me because I took the time to talk to him. The stories about how my grandfather and his brothers had to sit out and take turns from Thursday till Monday because the white folks, the white boys, would come from town and try to take people from them shacks they lived on the farm. The grapes girls and boys sitting out on the porch taking turns by sleeping from Thursday till Monday to make sure nobody got took from their house. Those are the stories we need. And they know them. Go get them from them and keep them.
Now, according to news sources, this is what the Trump administration is doing. The Trump administration is forcing out senior leadership at the National Archives and Records Administration in a major shakeup. That's according to a source familiar. President Donald Trump has been highly critical of the archives since the agency asked the Department of Justice to investigate Trump's mishandling of classified documents after he left office. Now, following the dismissal of archivist Colleen Shogan last week, Trump officials made it clear to agency staff that the White House wanted to remove the leadership team and replace top officials with Trump loyalists, according to the source. The first notice to staff came in an email Friday from deputy activist William J. Bosanko, who told members of his team that he was retiring and that it had been a privilege and an honor to work at the archives for the last 32 years. A career veteran whose mother also had a long career at the National Archives, Bosanko went on to write, "Please focus on the mission and look out for one another. You have my deepest respect and admiration. I feel an immense sense of sadness that I'm not by your side at this important time in the history of the agency." Now, in addition to Bosanko, 5 other senior officials are also expected to resign, according to the source. The role of the National Archives took on new prominence in recent years in the wake of the FBI search of Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort as part of an investigation into the mishandling of presidential documents, including highly sensitive classified documents. Now, the exodus of senior staff is seen as a huge loss for the agency, which is considered non-partisan and dedicated to the preservation of history and the documents. The forced resignations come after Trump vowed to clean house at the agency. Now, the Inspector General of the National Archives referred the case to the Department of Justice in 2022 after more than a year of trying to negotiate with Trump the return of presidential papers, including highly classified documents. Bosanko, who has been acting archivist since Shogun was fired by the White House, is a well-liked and respected figure at NARA. His colleagues credit Bosanko with keeping the agency non-partisan, and a former senior official described him as a consummate professional who was dedicated to the preservation of historic documents. Now, his farewell letter was titled Litera Scripta Manet. Latin for the word remains a meaningful phrase for those who work at the National Archives. He also attached a copy of the Archivist Code. The White House is expected to announce plans for new leadership at the National Archives in the coming days. Now, this reminds me of last year in November 2024. There was an article that read that the National Archives was deleting problematic past. I used to read about regimes in other countries where anything unfavorable to those in power was erased, banned, rewritten. The Chinese Communist Party, which pronounced any negative events or criticism historical nihilism. Joseph Stalin, who rewrote Russian history before he began his purges. Afghanistan, which plucked 40 years of the country's life out of its textbooks. How on earth did people survive under such conditions? I wondered, sure that I would never have to. Now, the intensity of this country's political polarization did surprise me, with its consequent separation of media into right and left. My version of Make America Great Again was a wistful nostalgia for shared media. The country needed an avuncular water Cronkite everyone could trust, or cheerfully yell back at every evening. Still, we were all capable of finding news on the other side. Far more ominous are the subtler attempts at appeasement. Now US Americans are the ones erasing and self-censoring, lest we distress our audience or our customers or the power brokers. Now, the Washington Post's refusal to endorse was a jolt, a reminder of how owned the mainstream media are. But the recent erasures by the Biden-appointed head of the National Archives frighten people far more. Now, Colin Shogan bears the title Archivist of the United States. Her mandate is to make sure the national history is recorded, preserved, accessible, and exhibited so that future generations can learn from it. But she has chosen to delete important chunks of that national history because they are confrontational, negative, or disturbing. Now, in the bliss of election coverage, I missed this report. Maybe you did too, but one bright spot. The news broke in the increasingly right-leaning Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal, whose reporters interviewed nearly a dozen former and current National Archives museum staffers and received internal documents. Now, they found that Shogan and her top aides ordered a rearrangement of exhibits to placate Republican legislators and visitors who shouldn't feel confronted, as a senior official told museum employees. Now, 6 senior staffers have resigned. One filed a federal whistleblower complaint alleging censorship. And this is a key time for the National Archives. Its museum is freshening up for 2026, when the nation will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. In its honor, permanent exhibit galleries are being redesigned. The goal is to expand our storytelling and our ability to share our holdings with our visitors so that all Americans can find their stories reflected in our spaces. A spokesperson from the National Archives told Hyperallergic. Necessary curatorial decisions must always be made carefully. Now, those necessary curatorial decisions have included deleting references to indigenous land displacement, what we used to call stealing tribal land. After reviewing plans for an exhibit about the nation's westward expansion, Shogan reportedly asked one staffer, "Why is it so much about Indians?" Treaties ceding tribal land to the US government were cut from the exhibit. It is said that photographs of Japanese American concentration camps were also removed. The images were deemed too negative and controversial. References to the camps were deleted from educational materials. A photograph of Martin Luther King Jr. in a Step into History photo booth was switched out for a photograph of President Richard M. Nixon meeting Elvis Presley. Someone on Shogun's team suggested that visitors would not recognize King. Now, one of Shogun's senior advisors reportedly told employees that a story about the Edge Coast, explaining how public records were used to return assets to Jews, should be ditched. He rolled his eyes about staffers who were too woke. Now, archive staffers also told the Wall Street Journal that an exhibit highlighting the abolition of slavery and the recognition of women's right to vote was sharply reduced in size because it cast the founding fathers in a negative light by showing what they had gotten wrong. A photo of former First Lady Betty Ford was removed because she was wearing an Equal Rights Amendment pin. Shogun ordered the patent for the birth control pill removed from an exhibit about invasions that changed the world. One of our aides suggested replacing it with a patent for the bump stock, a device that allows a semi-automatic to operate as a machine pew-pew. Now, this was last year. And fast forward to today, we are witnessing a shocking move by the administration to remove all the leaders at the National Archives. And according to reports, the administration wants to replace these leaders with their own loyalists, raising serious concerns about the polarization of this critical institution. The National Archives is responsible for preserving and protecting America's historical records, including the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. So I want to ask you, our viewers, what do you think about this move? Share your thoughts, your contributions in the comment section, and let's have a conversation there. Thank you for always watching, and see you in our next video.